नमस्कार, मैं हूं आशुतोष और आप देख रहे हैं सत्यहिंदी.com। सत्यहिंदी.com के खास कार्यक्रम आशुतोष की बात में आपका स्वागत है। बातचीत शुरू करने के पहले एक छोटी सी अपील। सत्यहिंदी.com एक कोशिश है ईमानदार, निडर और निर्भीक पत्रकारिता की। हम अपने लाखों दर्शकों के शुक्रगुजार हैं जो लाखों की संख्या में हमारे कार्यक्रमों को देखते हैं और हमारी हौसला अफजाई करते हैं। हम उनसे एक और छोटी सी गुजारिश करना चाहते हैं, आप न केवल हमारे कार्यक्रम देखें बल्कि आप हमारी थोड़ी सी आर्थिक मदद भी करें। आप इस वीडियो को डिस्क्रिप्शन में जाएं, सत्य हिंदी के सदस्य बने, थोड़ा सा आर्थिक भुगतान करके हमारे लिए बहुत बड़ी मदद होगी। और अब आज की बातचीत शुरू करते हैं। जैसा कि हमारे दर्शक अच्छी तरीके से जानते हैं कि लोकसभा का चुनाव शुरू हो चुका है। 7 चरणों में मतदान होंगे और जून के पहले हफ्ते में नतीजे आएंगे और उसके बाद ये पता चलेगा दरअसल इस वक्त देश में किसकी सरकार बनने वाली है या बनेगी। क्या नरेंद्र मोदी एक बार फिर देश के प्रधानमंत्री बनेंगे? क्या भारतीय जनता पार्टी लगातार तीसरी बार बहुमत का आंकड़ा पार करेगी और वो सरकार बनाएगी? क्या भारतीय जनता पार्टी जो दावे कर रही है कि वो 370 का आंकड़ा छुएगी, उसमें किसी तरीके की सच्चाई है? या फिर राहुल गांधी जो लगातार कह रहे हैं कि भारतीय जनता पार्टी 150 से ज्यादा सीटें नहीं पाने वाली है? इसका मतलब ये कि 150 से 370 का आंकड़ा बहुत लंबा अंतराल है दोनों के बीच में। इस बीच तमाम तरीके के ओपिनियन पोल्स भी आ रहे हैं, लेकिन जो अहम बात इस चुनाव के अंदर है वो 10 साल की एंटी इनकम्बेंसी नरेंद्र मोदी की सरकार के खिलाफ। लगातार तमाम ओपिनियन पोल्स में, तमाम सर्वे में यह बात स्पष्ट हो रही है। महंगाई अपने आप में बहुत बड़ा मुद्दा है, साथ ही साथ बेरोजगारी बहुत बड़ा मुद्दा है, भ्रष्टाचार बहुत बड़ा मुद्दा है। और पिछले दिनों सीएसडीएस और लोकनीति का जो सर्वे आया है उसमें साफ तौर पर कहा गया कि पिछले 5 सालों में महंगाई बढ़ी है, बेरोजगारी बढ़ी है और भ्रष्टाचार भी बढ़ा है। इस बीच में सुप्रीम कोर्ट ने जो इलेक्टोरल बॉन्ड को लेकर जो फैसला किया वो भी अपने आप में बहुत ही अविस्मरणीय है और अप्रत्याशित तौर पर नरेंद्र मोदी सरकार की पोल खोलने में उसने मदद भी की है। कई तरीके की चीजें हमारे सामने आई हैं जिसमें स्पष्ट तौर पर यह कहा गया है कि भारतीय जनता पार्टी को 6,986.5 करोड़ रुपए मिले इलेक्टोरल बॉन्ड से, जिसमें हम ये कह सकते हैं कि भारतीय जनता पार्टी को तकरीबन 1,698 करोड़ माफ करिएगा 2,471 करोड़ बॉन्ड मिले हैं। वो भी किसके थ्रू? जब तमाम 41 कंपनियों के खिलाफ एनफोर्समेंट डायरेक्टरेट, तमाम एजेंसीज के रेड पड़े हैं। यानी कहीं ना कहीं एक क्विड प्रो को भी यहां दिखाई पड़ता है। इसकी कभी जांच होगी नहीं होगी ये तो भगवान जाने, लेकिन फिलहाल क्यों इतनी भूमिका में बांध रहा हूं? इसलिए क्योंकि आज हम बात करने वाले हैं देश के जाने माने अर्थशास्त्री परकाला प्रभाकर से, जिन्होंने किताब लिखी द क्रिकेट टिम्बर ऑफ न्यू इंडिया, और जो आंध्र प्रदेश की टीडीपी सरकार में मुख्यमंत्री के सलाहकार भी रहे हैं और साथ ही साथ मौजूदा वित्त मंत्री निर्मला सीतारमन के पति भी हैं। बहुत बहुत आपका स्वागत है प्रभाकर जी हमसे बातचीत करने के लिए। ये जो मैंने आपका परिचय दिया, आई थिंक आप यू विल नॉट टेक इट अदरवाइज। इश्यू ये कि शुड बी स्पीक इन हिंदी और इन इंग्लिश?
मेरी हिंदी तो बहुत कमजोर है आशुतोष जी।
हाँ जी।
अंग्रेजी ठीक हूँ, लेकिन अगर आपके दर्शकों ने हिंदी चाहते हैं तो मैं कोशिश करूँगा।
आप
लेकिन
जो भी
मैं बहुत आहिस्ते बोलूंगा। और
आप whatever language you are comfortable, you are comfortable in English, please speak in English. When you comfortable in Hindi, please speak in Hindi. Language is no bar. आप जब से इलेक्टोरल बॉन्ड का मसला सामने आया है, आप इसको मोदी गेट के नाम से बात कर रहे हैं, जो अपने आप में एक बहुत बड़ा आरोप है। मोदी गेट का मतलब यह कि कहीं ना कहीं खुद देश के प्रधानमंत्री नरेंद्र मोदी इसमें इन्वॉल्व है। Why are you calling it a Modi gate exposure on electoral bonds?
अच्छा, Ashutosh ji, first of all, thank you very much for inviting me to be, on your platform. I am very grateful to you for giving me an opportunity to say certain things about India's polity, India's economy, and about the elections and the state of affairs. Why did I call this Modi gate? When the Prime Minister gave an interview, first about 10 days ago to a Tamil channel called Tanti TV. And then subsequently, just about less than a week ago, he gave an elaborate interview to the ANI news agency.
Yeah.
In both these interviews, the Prime Minister has very clearly said the electoral bond scheme was his brainchild, that it was he who designed it, and he stood by that. Not only that, he also said those people who are opposing electoral bonds will soon come to regret it. So, which clearly tells you that electoral bond scheme was his brainchild, his own policy, his own design. And and look at the way the government has fought tooth and nail to prevent the Supreme Court from divulging the details. First of all, the highest law officer of Government of India had to go and tell the Supreme Court the people of India have no right to know who funds the political parties. Number one. Number two, the government has made the State Bank of India to go to the court just before, 1 day before the expiry of the deadline, which was imposed by the Supreme Court, that they will not be able to give until June 30th, that is after the elections. Even then, the Supreme Court did not heed to those pleas and directed the State Bank of India to give the details to the Election Commission of India, and directed the Election Commission of India to divulge the details. And then comes another, move to resist this. The government had persuaded the CII, ASSOCHAM, and the other business organization, which is ASSOCHAM, CII, and I think FICCI. These three organizations have written to the Supreme Court that the details should not be divulged. When that also did not find favor with the Supreme Court, the chairman or the president of the Bar Association of the Supreme Court, without consulting the other members, had written. So look at the frantic way that the government had fought in order to prevent the divulgence of the details. Now, from this, it is very easy to conclude that the government and the BJP have a lot to hide here.
Yes.
That is the reason why first of all, I call this not only the biggest scam in India's history, but the biggest scam in the world. That is one. And I call this a Modi case because it's owned even after all this. Achha, one more point, Ashutosh, I want see, whenever a court gives a verdict like this, normally what happens is that the political class would say we respect the verdict of the Supreme Court. This is, have you heard that kind of a word coming from the Prime Minister or anybody responsible in the government and the ruling party? Not at all. Not only that, the Prime Minister had said that those people who are opposing the electoral bonds will come to regret it.
Will come to regret.
Yeah, that is the kind of attitude the government and the Prime Minister have taken towards the electoral bond issue. That is the reason why I call it Modi Gate.
So you mean to say that Mr. Prime Minister has to hide many things, and that is why he did not welcome the Supreme Court order on electoral bond, and rather he tried to explain the situation that those who are opposing electoral bonds today, they will regret in future. He has also gone to the extent of saying that this was good to that for the black money, which was it is good to stop black money into the system. Do you agree with him that it was basically to stop black money in the system?
No, actually, if you look at the way that it was implemented, it was designed to be opaque. It was designed to have absolutely no transparency, and it is so obvious. One. The second thing, before I go into the details of why I call this not at all transparent, let me just add one more thing. Ashutosh, the Prime Minister had said that people who opposed the electoral bonds will come to regret it soon. That's what he said.
Yes.
Now, I want to understand what that could mean. Could that mean that the Supreme Court will come to regret it? Because it's the Supreme Court which said it is unconstitutional. Does that mean that the judges sitting on that bench which decided that it was unconstitutional, will they come to regret it? Does that mean that the Chief Justice of India will come to regret it? Ashutosh regretting and Parakala regretting is very, very
Is
insignificant.
yeah.
Very insignificant it is. But does the Supreme Court regret it? I mean, my feeling is that the Prime Minister, in some veiled way,
Hmm.
he was handing out a threat that look,
Okay.
you will come to regret it. This is one.
Hmm.
The most important thing is that you see, the Prime Minister says that because of the electoral bonds, people have come to know who paid what to which
Hmm.
party. But this is precisely the thing that the Prime Minister and the government wanted to prevent. Now he's claiming, since things have come out, he's claiming credit for that. There
Hmm.
is a lot of insincerity here. One. The other thing is, broadly speaking, can the Prime Minister sincerely claim that the donations were only in electoral bonds and no cash transactions took place in addition to electoral bonds? Number one. Number two, you see, if you have a company which pays electoral bonds, buys electoral bonds in much excess of its profits, aggregate profits, where is that money coming from? Isn't
Hmm.
that black money? Isn't that money laundering? The other thing is, even companies which were in losses, they also bought enormous amounts of electoral bonds. Where is that money coming from? And look at the quid pro quo. Now you have a raid by either ED or CBI or GST or some agency, and then there is a electoral bond donation given, and the ruling party BJP redeeming it. That is one. So what does it mean? The other thing is that electoral bond was given after a contract was awarded to certain firms. What does that mean? And the reason why I call this a huge scam, the biggest scam in the world, is not how much money has changed hands. How much money was denied to the exchequer
Okay.
in terms of the corruption, in terms of giving an award, in terms of unearthing, preventing the black money, because ED raid and PMLA, the raid stopped and investigation stopped. How much money was involved in that? If you compute the entire money, this comes to not just how much is transferred to a particular political party or a number of political parties. What was in return given to those companies which gave the electoral bonds. Therefore, the amount is humongous. You can't imagine the kind of money. And
Hmm.
another important thing in this electoral bond is that it's like currency. You can buy it and give it to me. I can give and get a favor done. But my name will not be there, your name will be there. But you're not the beneficiary, but I'm the beneficiary. But
Yes.
I give you the money in black and you buy it and give it to me, and I give it to a political party. Now, what is this? Isn't this black money? Isn't this round tripping? Isn't this money laundering? So, this whole thing stinks. This whole thing is the biggest scam in the world. This is nothing but Modi Gate.
What amount you perceive?
I think it'll run into lakhs of crores. Say, for instance, look at, and there's one more thing I must add, Ashutosh ji, here. There is something called the PLI, production linked incentives. In order to get a lot of investment, especially in pharma sector and other sectors, the government launched, and everybody thought it's a wonderful initiative. But then now we come to know that a particular firm, for instance, a Hyderabad-based firm like Aurobindo, it was sanctioned about 1,000 crores of PLI incentive over next 5 years. And first year, some money was given in return as a quid pro quo, that not only for getting bail for their one of their directors, and not only for getting out of that liquor scam, Delhi liquor scam, but also to get the PLI, this firm had paid handsome electoral bond money to BJP.
Two
So,
things are
on the whole, I think the whole thing runs into lakhs and lakhs of crores.
crores. Two things has also happened. Do you think it's just a coincidence, or this is just part of design that almost 600 lawyers led by Hari Salve has written a letter insinuating that there is a way to pressurize the Supreme Court. This was also followed by 21 judges. Out of 21 judges, four are from the past, the former Supreme Court judges. Many of them are former Chief Justices of High Court and other High Court judges. They have also written insinuating that there is an attempt to pressurize Supreme Court to give a judgment for a particular kind of politics, something of these lines. It has been said. It has not said anything else, but that whether the government is pressurizing, or the political parties are pressurizing, or the opposition is pressurizing. Do you think this is just a coincidence, or it's a part of design?
Ashutoshi, probably it's not good for you and good for me to go very, very detailed way and comment on the Supreme Court or the judiciary. We do not know what this guy. But let's be cautious with a caveat. We have full respect for the judiciary. Let me say that, and then tell you what my thoughts are. The State Bank of India even today refuses to divulge how much fee it has paid to Mr. Salve.
Hmm.
It's a public institution. It runs on your deposits and my deposits. It's a government organization. It's a public sector undertaking. And how can it say that they won't divulge the fees that they pay to their lawyer? And the lawyer who defended them tooth and nail so that they don't have to divulge. It's actually, they're batting for the government. This is one. So,
Yeah.
what kind of credibility would you give to somebody who initiates a signature campaign? This is one. The second thing is former judges writing an open letter. Now, before that, let us put the entire thing in context first. Sometime back, even sitting judges to Supreme Court have held a press conference
Yes.
and threw up a lot of doubts about the judiciary executive relationship. So, if you look at the whole thing from that context, and also keep in mind that, especially in the context of electoral bonds, the hearing took place just now, but the petitions were as old as of 2018.
Yes.
Since the entire scheme came into existence, there were challenges, but successive benches and successive chief justices have refused to hear this. What does that indicate? Does that indicate any pressure from the executive, or is it that the Supreme Court did not find time to hear the petitions, or they did not think it was important, even though many elections took place between that time and now? The entire funding was under question.
Yes.
People have raised questions. You might say you can dismiss it off, but then you have to hear them. Now, finally, when they heard, the Supreme Court came to the conclusion that they are unconstitutional. Now, I've already raised one part of the question. Why couldn't the government say that they will respect the decision of the Supreme Court? They did not. And when the Supreme Court itself says that a particular scheme which was implemented by the government, designed by the government, even today claims by the Prime Minister that he was the originator of it, his brainchild it was, when that was decided as unconstitutional, does the government have moral right to continue in office? Does the Prime Minister have moral right anymore to continue in office? Even for smaller things, people in the past, leaders in the past have taken moral responsibility and quit. When an important measure of the government was pronounced as unconstitutional, how can the government continue in office even for a minute after that? Why
Yeah,
are we not
basically.
debating this? Why are we not debating this? Why is the entire civil society, the media, the intelligentsia, why is it quiet on it? I can't understand.
You know why why media and others are quite on this. It's very obvious. I don't need to get into that. But the fact of the matter is that you have raised a very pertinent question, and you have also said that the government has no right to continue even for a minute on the moral ground. Instead of that, the prime minister has gone openly and defended his decision, and in fact, he has asked that those who are casting aspersons will have to regret in future.
That is a threat, as I said.
That's a threat. Do you mean to say that? But my question remained unanswered in the sense, because what about the 600 lawyers which has written a letter, and what about the 21 judges who has written a letter that there is some kind of pressure on the judiciary to pronounce judgment in certain ways?
Um, you see, that I think partially I've said something about it in the sense that the judiciary's record over the last 10 years or so has been patchy. There are questions in the minds of people whether judgments were delivered objectively, because see the many lawyer friends of mine point out, when you read the judgment, the arguments that are raised in the judgment and the kind of remarks that were made in the body of the judgment and the operative part are completely at variance from each other. That's what they say, which means that the probably the judiciary is under pressure from the executive. I mean, as I said, I don't want to say in a very detailed way, because that
Yeah.
gets into problem and me into problem, and we can't afford to have this kind of problem. You are at least in Delhi, you can just take a bus or a car and go there, but I have to travel a lot, in order to, if I were to be hauled up. So let's limit it. But then, having said the having entered the caveat, I still respect the judiciary. Let me also say that the record of the Supreme Court and the entire judiciary in the country for the last 10 years has been patchy. It's
Has been
not to
patchy.
the has been patchy. There are questions, there are doubts,
Uh,
and
you
lawyers are openly saying, Ashutoshi, don't go to that bench, not to this bench. Somebody has even named the justices and gave an open call for them to resign. Now, that is the state of affairs today of the judiciary. Sorry to say this.
Yeah, but before I proceed further, I stand corrected, because uh, मैंने ये कहा था कि 2471 करोड़ रुपए उन कंपनियों से लिए गए जिनके यहाँ रेट्स पड़े थे. दरअसल जो करेक्ट फिगर ये है कि 41 कंपनियां जिनके खिलाफ इन्वेस्टिगेशन हो रहा है, उन कंपनियों से भारतीय जनता पार्टी को 2471 करोड़ रुपए मिले थे, जिनमें से 1698 करोड़ इलेक्टोरल बॉन्ड से बीजेपी को मिले, जिनके यहां रेड बाद में पड़ी. यानी रेड पड़ी उसके बाद जिन लोगों ने इलेक्टोरल बॉन्ड से पैसे दिए, उसका अमाउंट है 1998, और 41 कंपनियां जिनके खिलाफ इन्वेस्टिगेशन चल रहा था, उससे उनको 2471 करोड़. सो आई स्टैंड करेक्टेड ऑन दिस काउंट. You have also talked about that the BJP this time will find it difficult to come back to power. Why are you so confident about it? Because every opinion poll, every survey is saying that the Mr. Prime Minister Narendra Modi is very, very popular, and there's no doubt about it. He's popular. He's popular and extremely popular. Every survey has shown this. It has also been said that the BJP will get a comfortable majority for the third term, and the Mr. Prime Minister will come back as a Prime Minister again, and probably after Nehru, he will be the only one who will have 3 consecutive terms. Why are you saying that BJP will find it difficult to get third term?
Ashutoshi, today the point of discussion everywhere in the media is 370 seaten for Bhajpa and 400 par for NDA. This is the formulation. And people are saying, is it possible? Is it not possible? Kind of a thing. Now, to my mind, This is a very, very intelligent ploy. Had the Prime Minister and the leaders of the ruling party and the coalition not said it, probably the media and the civil society would be debating whether BJP can really win this election or not.
Okay.
Because they have said that, so now the discussion is whether they can get 370 or not, whether the alliance can get 400 or not. Now, let me raise a fundamental question to you. You have been a close observer of political process, a part of the political process, and you understand the electoral system and psephology and all that. Ashutosh ji, in order to win 370, how many do you have to contest? Is BJP contesting that much, those many seats? And the likely figure of BJP's actual contests, if you take them, in order to win 370, their strike rate ought to be 80% or 75% or 78% or more than 80%. Is it possible to have that kind of a strike rate? One. That is one aspect. I would, you wanted me to tell you why I have come to this conclusion. I have not based this conclusion on any quantitative study. And there are no credible quantitative studies yet, because the kind of media that you have, and because the surveys that are publicized by certain media houses, they're part of electioneering. That's what I feel.
Okay.
Okay. Now, you have mentioned about CSDS, which is a very credible organization.
Credible.
Yeah, especially, and they don't give you
Seat numbers.
seat and all that kind of a thing. It's
Yeah.
it's a
Yeah.
pre-election survey. In pre-election survey, they have found that the important issues that are exercising the minds of the voters are unemployment, price rise, and rural distress, and these things, and the issues that the BJP is banking on, like the mandir and other things, they are very, very insignificant. Be that as it may, park that in your mind. You see, BJP historically has been polling at their peak when they were, at very popular when they were 20 or 22%, somewhere in between. But in 2014, 13, 14, 12, later part of 12, 13, 14, what happened was, there was a huge amount of, unrest in the country about corruption, about scams, about policy paralysis. UPA 2 was so discredited. And on account of that, a large section of the urban middle class professionals, articulate people, in people have educated, all these people have shifted to BJP, and that shift was aided substantially by the way Sri Narendra Modi was projected as having, developed a vibrant Gujarat model, and, a massive and creative use of social media, digital media, messaging, and all that kind of a thing. Anna Hazare agitation, India against corruption. You're all part of that. And, that catapulted them to power, gave them about 27%. I'm not talking about the allies and their contribution. I'm talking about the BJPs. And then you have to factor in the bandwagon effect. Most psephologists miss this, Ashutoshi. You know it. If a party or a candidate is poised to win, that candidate is likely to poll at least 10 votes more. And if a candidate or a party is poised to lose, that candidate or the party will be polling at least 5 or 10 less. People will say, "Well, why should we vote unnecessarily? It'll go waste," and people are losing it, that kind of a thing. So if you do the adjustments of these figures, then in 2014 the BJP was somewhere around 27, and because of Pulwama and Balakot and other things in 2019, it has gone a little more. in 2019. Now, today, because of an all round failure in terms of employment generation, in terms of bringing back the black money, in terms of rural distress, farmers' agitation, you know, historic low of household savings at 5%, historic high of household debt at 40%, and the rising inequality. 1% of the population commands 22% of the income, and 1% of the population owns about 40% of the assets in the country. All these things together, and the hunger index and other things, the and on top of that, the electoral bond scam, this has dented so badly that all those accruals from 2014 onwards, they have receded. This is what I feel when I go around and speak to people. Ashutosh, I do not want people like you to underestimate the impact of electoral bonds. People might say, do common public understand what is an electoral bond? They may not understand the nuances as well as you do. But this much they understand, that a lot of money has changed hands. This government is not clean. This prime minister is not clean. All this while, this party and this prime minister and this leadership was forgiven, even if there are so many omissions and commissions, by people thinking, okay, whatever it is, they're clean. But that has now gone. The moral high ground of BJP has collapsed. That is the reason why I feel they will go back to 20 to 20%. And it is very, very difficult, in fact, impossible for them to cross 220 to 230 at their maximum, at their best. This is my conclusion.
Before I proceed and ask further questions, let me explain one thing. जो प्रभाकर जी ने कहा है कि भारतीय जनता पार्टी को 2014 में 27% के आसपास वोट मिलने की बात की है। दरअसल 2014 में भारतीय जनता पार्टी को 31% वोट शेयर मिला है, बट उनके कहने का मतलब ये कि जो कोर वोटर है, जो बीजेपी का कोर वोट है, वो 20-22% से बढ़कर 27% हुआ है। और चूंकि बहुत सारे लोग ये देख रहे थे कि भारतीय जनता पार्टी जीतती हुई दिखाई पड़ रही है, तो एक्स्ट्रा लोगों ने भारतीय जनता पार्टी को वोट दिया है, और कुछ वोट उनको अपने सहयोगियों की मदद से भी मिला जो उनके साथ उन्होंने अलायंस किया था। ये जब वो कह रहे हैं तो इसका मतलब है कि 27% लोग ही भारतीय जनता पार्टी का कोर वोटर है, जिसने बीजेपी को बीजेपी समझ के या मोदी को मोदी समझ के वोट दिया है। ये उनके कहने का मतलब। और फिर वो आगे जाते हैं 2019 में, तो बालाकोट की वजह से वोट का परसेंटेज थोड़ा बढ़ता। अब उनके कहने का मतलब ये कि चूंकि भारतीय जनता पार्टी की मौजूदा सरकार के खिलाफ काफी असफलताएं हैं, इस वजह से बीजेपी को बहुत दिक्कत होने वाली है और उनका वोट शेयर पहले की तरह 20 से 22% पे जा सकता है, और जो सीट है वो 220 से 230। when I'm listening to you, you've been so scathing on the prime minister and the government. Aren't you scared?
Well, Ashutosh, I do get a lot of trolling and a lot of abuse. I get anonymous telephone calls also. And my friends tell me don't go for walk alone and things like that. But I'm not scared. I feel that even if I'm attacked or whatever, I must say what I feel. I must speak my mind out. And if people like you and me don't speak, who will speak? It is our duty now, because India is now at an inflection point. My fear is this, Ashutosh. If we do not tell people the dangers that they would face if this government, if this party comes to power, you can forget about any further elections in this country. Yeah. They might have elections like, Putin's Russia has elections, and Kim Jong Un's Korea has elections. Not that kind of an election. China has elections. Not that, but genuine, impartial, multi-party democracy kind of an election is unthinkable. One. And what is happening today in Manipur can happen anywhere in the country, is likely to happen everywhere in the country. Somehow Northeast has not been a major part of our political imagination. That is the reason why probably we think, it's happening in Manipur, it won't happen in Delhi, it won't happen in Hyderabad, it won't happen in Andhra Pradesh, in Telangana, in Karnataka, in Gujarat. In Gujarat, it happened, of course, before, or in Maharashtra, or in Bengal. But, there is a real likelihood staring in our face. That's the second one. The third one, Ashutosh, I must say this from your platform, is this, that all the kind of dog whistles that you list here now from so-called fringe groups, economic boycott, genocide, calls for genocide, lynching, they we go back to Pakistan, go away to Pakistan, all these kind of, and marking of houses in Uttarakhand, calls from gatherings like Dharma Santam, a lynching for eating this or wearing that sweaters, all these things. And in Delhi, you are in Delhi, you have goons and groups parading in Delhi and calling from जब मुल्ला काटे जाएंगे जय श्री राम चिल्लाएंगे अगर इस देश में रहना हो तुम ये बोलना है and all that kind of a thing. They are so-called fringe groups are saying that, but nobody from the government responsible positions in the ruling party condemns it. And in parliament, a ruling party MP talks, absolutely objectionable way in language. Nobody does anything to him, not even a reprimand. Now, my point is this: when these things are happening, by done by some fringe elements of whatever, if this party and this government returns to power in this election, such calls you will hear from the ramparts of Red Fort in independence speeches. That is the danger staring at India today. That is the reason why I feel, you know, by alerting, by cautioning is more important for me than whatever is likely to happen. I might be harassed, I might be, threatened, whatever. I still stick my neck out because what is at stake is much, much larger. The soul of India is at stake.
Prabhakar ji, you have studied in JNU, and those people who are listening this will say this is a rant of a typical tukde gang of JNU, tukde gang of JNU, and they'll say this is how they scaremonger. Are you worried about it?
You see, they will say that. They have been saying it. My point is this, Ashutosh. Whatever I say, forget about, मैं किसका बेटा हूँ, किसका पोता हूँ, किसका दोस्त हूँ, किसका दुश्मन हूँ, किसका किसका शिष्य हूँ, किसका गुरु हूँ, किसकी पिता हूँ, किसकी पत्नी पति हूँ, ये सब छोड़ दीजिए. The point is this: you tell me factually, where is it that I have erred? Where is it that I have not said anything that can be backed up, that cannot be backed up by data? Am I wrong in unemployment? Am I wrong in price rise? Am I wrong in rural distress? Am I wrong in savings at a historic low? Am I wrong in household debt at the historic high? Am I wrong in historical inequality? 1% owning 40% of the assets, or cornering 22% of this. Am I wrong in lynching? Am I wrong in calls about genocide? Am I wrong in people calling on do the jihad and counter this or counter that? Do the economic boycott or keep arms at home? Am I wrong in any of these things? No, you refute me, or all these people who are probably would say that it's a rat. I want them to refute. I want them to say, look, employment has gone up. I want them to say dollar has been controlled, prices are controlled. We have brought 15 lakhs into each account from the black money. Uh, Ask them to say that, we have not taken anything in quid pro quo in the electoral bonds thing. Ask them to say that, people are happy. Ask them to say that, world hunger index is not really bad. Ask them to say that we don't have to give 82 crore people free ration for 5 years. Ask them to say this.
But
If they
Prabhakar ji,
can't say,
when the BJP and their supporters are challenged on the TV debates about these figures, they dispute these figures. They dispute these figures. They say that these are not the correct figures, and
what is that?
they
Is
like
it?
to say that India is the fastest growing economy. They'd like to say that India has moved from the 10th position to the 5th position, and fifth largest economy, and then in the next term, India will be third largest economy. And so they call it's a rant basically by those who are opposed to the government, who don't like Narendra Modi.
Okay.
So
Okay.
if they think they are destined to make India third largest economy, why you have a problem with them?
No. Actually, you see, in fact, I know I also speak to certain groups of NRIs on Zoom. They would like India to be shining, and you would also like India to be shining. I would
Yeah.
like India to be shining. I would like India to be why third and fourth and fifth, and I would like India to be number one. The point is this. The point is that we have to be actually fourth or fifth or third or second, not just publicity. I'll tell you what. If we are fifth largest economy, overtaking the United Kingdom, Ashutoshi, your viewers know that United Kingdom is a developed country. Now, I want you to help me understand this. If you have overtaken a developed country, what are you? Aren't you a developed country? But on the one side, you say that we have overtaken the United Kingdom, which is a developed country, and become the fifth largest. We occupied that position. On the other side, you say that we will be a developed country in 2047. What is this contradiction? You tell me that. One. The second thing is, you see, UK is, I come from Andhra Pradesh. UK size is about Andhra Pradesh size. Now you say you're comparing Andhra Pradesh size economy, and their per capita income is about $40,000,
Yeah.
and ours is about $2,300. And in per capita income, our place is 140th. Now, fifth largest economy, third largest economy. What is the meaning of that if your per capita income is 140th? Can these people answer that? But is it important that we are not at this low in world hunger index? And on the one hand, you say world hunger index, it is anti-India. It is like Ashutosh and Parakala talking about it. If that is the case, why is it that the government has decided to give 5 kilos of food grains free ration to 82 crore people if there is no hunger in the country? Now, will they also tell us that there is no unemployment in the country? Will they also tell us that they have doubled the farmers' income and there is no rural distress? Will they also tell us the domestic investment is going up rather than falling down? Will they also tell that? They have to say, because it's always it is a matter of your data, your own data. Is it not a fact that every year, on average, about 1.5 lakh people are relinquishing Indian citizenship and going away, leaving the country? Is it not a fact? And is it not a fact that a large number of them are high net worth individuals who are capable of investing? They're not investing. Is it not a fact that a large number of people are now illegally trying to enter the United States, and it is no more the South American countries who are sending illegal
Yeah.
immigrants to the United States, but it is India? Is not a fact? Can they deny that?
But Prabhakar ji, it has been said about you that when the government is claiming that in the next term India will be third largest economy, you have claimed in one of the interviews that India was the third largest economy from 2011 to 2014. On what basis you have said it? If
No,
India was third largest economy, that why it is said now that India is the fifth largest economy? Has India slipped?
You see, this really puzzles me, Ashutosh. See, how many times does the government want us to make third largest or fifth largest, etc.? You know, this is what the World Bank had said on the 14th of April, 2014, that India has become fifth largest economy in 2011. All the newspapers have carried. You just have to type into Google about the World Bank India. It's size of the economy. You just type that, and it is every newspaper, Times of India, the Hindu, the Business Standard, the Economic Times, the Financial Times. Every newspaper has published that report. And what is the government saying now? What is the government saying? What exactly are they saying? I mean, what is the novelty here?
But
The
that
point,
was PPP. That is,
yeah, it is the PPP.
yeah.
Till recently, all the voodoo economists that the BJP has in their ranks, they used to say that the computation of the GDP of India according to the Western measures is wrong. $1 and 1 rupee, what one rupee buys here, $1 doesn't buy there. So you have to have the PPP. And have they given it up? Okay. Now, even if they give it up, let me ask them, where are we now in those terms as far as the per capita income is concerned? Have you lifted the per capita income from 140th position to anywhere? And what are your projections for the next 10 years of your per capita income? Now, the most credible projections about India as far as the per capita income is concerned, from 140, the most optimistic projection is that you would go to about 90, not more than that. You're not going to cross 90. This doesn't give me pleasure in saying this. I'm not saying that India should not cross 90. I want India to cross 90. But what are you doing? You see, if you have about 24% of your young people unemployed, and of them between 20 and 25, you have 40% of them unemployed, not contributing to the economy. How on earth are you going to grow, Ashutosh? Please tell me.
But don't you think this is a legacy issue for the simple reason because India has been a poor country and India has opened its market in 1991. So it will take a lot of time to get these kind of figures for the country, like the figures with the developed countries has. So why Modi government should be faulted on this point? The
Because
similar per capita income has been almost similar during the 2004 to 2014. Though GDP growth was good enough in that point, almost the similar GDP growth we see from 2014 to 2020-24. This government has also faced famine in between for 2 years, which the world has seen, and India's growth has gone in the negative. So why this government is faulted for these figures? Every government in the past should be faulted for these figures.
no, of course, Indian economy, you have to fault the colonialism, you have to fault everything else. I'm not talking about that. You see, legacy, not when they talk about, like, if they talked about legacy in 2015, 16, 17, I would have still said, okay, let them get their act together. It takes time. But after 10 years, I'm talking about. The second thing is that, if you compare 10 years before and 10 years since 14, and, I'm not fond of getting into UPA versus NDA, Jawaharlal Nehru versus who, I'm not fond of that. The point is, what was the average growth rate from 14 till now, and what was the average growth rate for 10 years before 2014? There is a huge difference, Ashutosh. You know it. If it were 7.5, it is, with all the massaged and manipulated data also, you are not, last 10 years, you are not more than 4.5, 4.8%. So where is the legacy? Now, the legacy of, where is the legacy connect to the rampant unemployment? Where is the legacy to falling savings rate? Where is the legacy connect to the the rising household debt. Where is the legacy to lakhs and lakhs of people are voting with their feet and going away from India, relinquishing the citizenship? Where is the legacy correct? There is no legacy correct. The connect is to the present government's policies, like mindless policy of demonetization, which has broken the back of India's economy. And Ashutosh, I tell you, even today, India's economy has not recovered from the shock it has received in 2016 demonetization. One. And secondly, soon after that, you had the COVID pandemic. And in a quarter, you had minus 23% growth rate. I mean, whose fault is this? This is not the fault of legacy of British colonialism or Mughals or Nehru. No, not that. It is your own doing. It is this
But Prabhakar,
government's doing.
Prabhakar, it's very fascinating to listen to you, this part of it. But do you realize that you are trying to critique your own wife, who happens to be the finance minister of the country? If the country is suffering from the bad finance policies, then people will say that you are trying to criticize your wife itself, that is Nirmala Sitaraman.
You know, uh, my critique is of the government, of a particular economic model that this government is following. My critique is not individuals, and reducing everything to to Ashutosh, or my relation or my equation with Ashutosh is not the point. The point is we are talking about the economy. And I'll tell you one more thing, Ashutosh. When the World Inequality Report came out and said, India's inequality is at a historic high. Not even during the colonial regime, but India had that kind of an inequality. You've seen that report
Yeah.
of Thomas Piketty and others. It's a very renowned and reputed lab. It is World Inequality Lab. The high priests of this government's economic policy, like Professor Arvind Panga, he writes a column for the Times of India and says, "Don't lose sleep over inequality." It reminded me of, Gordon Gekko of Wall Street, who said, "Greed is good." And there is one more, the chief economic advisor, who said that addressing the problem of unemployment is not the responsibility of the government. He said that. Third one, another member of the Prime Minister's Economic Advisory Council says the the youth are suffering from poverty of aspiration. Why can't they think of becoming like Elon Musk or Bill Gates or Mark Zuckerberg? Why are they writing these exams? Why are they going to competitive examination? And how insensitive can that be? And if I critique this kind of a policy, it is not criticizing an individual.
Hmm.
And please don't reduce the entire critique to you know uh, me criticizing one individual or the other. I think the stakes are much much larger, much higher. It is for the future of India. It is for the future of the youngsters in India.
I understand what you're saying, but does it create conflict in your mind that you happen to be the husband of the finance minister, whom you are not sparing the about economic policies of the government? Does it create a conflict in your mind? Does it bother you?
As I said,
Uh,
if the country is the uppermost thing, you're looking at the country. These things don't matter. They should not matter. And one more thing, Ashutoshi, is that individuals are there in transit. It is what is happening to the economy. You tomorrow you may be the finance minister, you may be the commerce minister, probably you may be the Delhi chief minister, you may be the home minister of India, and day after tomorrow you may not be. Should we should we formulate our critique or our opinions on what is happening in the economy on the basis of your likes and dislikes of individuals? I don't think so. I'm not schooled that way. I'm sure you're not schooled that way. These are not, personalized things.
Have you
And
spoken to her?
I know, and my critique of anything is beyond individuals.
Have you spoken to her on this subject
No,
about
I
the state
don't
of
think
economy?
I don't think that that is part of the conversation, nor is it a part of the syllabus.
Okay, not a part of the syllabus. As a true Genuite, where we tend to disagree on many points, and despite agreeing on the concept that let's disagree to agree, that's something like this.
The, the,
But
the
last
point
question I
is,
want to ask you.
just one more sentence.
Yeah.
Point, Ashutosh, you are schooled in that kind of a thing. The point is that, there should be a healthy debate in the country,
I, I know.
healthy
Last question, which
disagreement in the country. And,
last question which I want
it's
to
not
ask.
that, if I don't agree, I put you behind bars. But
Yeah, yeah.
that is what is happening today in the country.
In the country. Last question, which I'm very tempted to ask, is that you have been associated with the BJP, you have been a spokesperson of the Andhra Pradesh BJP. Why you are so disillusioned? Are you disillusioned with the BJP in terms of an ideology, or are you disillusioned with the way the things are running in the country by the government?
Ashutoshi, to be blunt about this, let me say that this probably is a Modi Shah party than it is BJP. One. The second thing is, my when I was associated with BJP, that was a time when BJP has expressly distanced itself from Article 370, Ram Janmabhoomi, and the Common Civil Code and these issues. So it was trying to come to some kind of a left of or right of center kind of a thing. And, we, most of the people, most of us were under the impression that Indian political polity was settling between as a contest between left of center and right of center, not extremes. But today, what you see is is a complete negation of that. And to me, and to most people, it looks like a Modi Shah party rather than a Bharatiya Janata Party.
So,
Now, Bharatiya Janata Party too has undergone a lot of changes. It started as a Gandhian socialism economic theory. Where is that now? And it opposed GST. Where is that now? It
but,
opposed
but
1990.
Prabhakar ji, let me ask the question. The question is that the BJP is ideological party. It has never it has never disowned the integral humanism of Divya Upadhyaya. It has never disowned MS Golwalkar. It has never disowned their other shenanigans of their ideology. You were in the BJP. Were you in agreement with the BJP's ideology of integral humanism? Were you
No,
in agreement with the BJP's ideology of Hindutva, which is based on anti-Muslim?
I was associated with BJP during a time when all these issues were, parked aside. They were set aside. They were no longer the core issues of the BJP as a political party. You see, now what you are referring to is its umbilical cord and relation with the RSS. And at that time, when I was briefly associated with BJP, these issues were completely set aside. So that was the way. And when I got the wind that it was probably a tactical thing, it was not a change of heart, a lot of us have again distanced ourselves.
Were you deceived?
I was disappointed.
Disappointed.
I was disappointed because you see that is not the creed of India. Ashutosh, since we have come this far about this, allow me one more minute. You
Yeah,
see,
please go ahead.
yeah, you see, the framing of our constitution between November 46 to December 49, almost about 3 years. That was the most tumultuous period in India's history, immediately preceding independence and immediately after independence. And India was a communal cauldron. Riots were taking place, and hundreds and thousands of dead bodies were going from this side of the border to that side of the border, and hundreds and thousands of dead bodies were coming from that side of the border to this side of the border. Delhi and surrounding areas were all refugee camps. East Bengal, West Bengal problem, and East Punjab and West Punjab problems. That was the kind of turmoil the country was going through, and most people who were in the Constituent Assembly were also in the government. And they were walking through the streets or going through the streets of Delhi with all the kind of disturbances into the Constituent Assembly. But even then, our constitution makers refused to make India a communal country, a Hindu country. They opted, in spite of, in the midst of all that kind of a crisis, they opted to have a secular, a diverse, a plural, a democratic quality, not a mirror image of Pakistan. And today, unfortunately, what we have at the helm of this country are Hindu Jinnahs. That is the kind of state of affairs that we were dragged. And economy was dragged back to 20, 25 years, even 30 years. It will take at least that much of time to correct all this. And as a society, we have been dragged back to Middle Ages, if not even earlier. Past worshipping has become the creed of this government and this regime and this dispensation.
But
This,
Prabhakar ji,
you have to keep
I
this
tend
in
to
mind.
say, yeah,
Yeah,
Prabhakar
you
ji,
have to,
let me just ask a few things more, because BJP has never hidden its ideological moorings, and they had kept the three important issues, 370 UCC and Ram Janmabhoomi, at the back burner because they were not in majority. That was the compulsion of the coalition politics. That is why Atal Bihari Vajpayee put all these three issues. During Atal Bihari's regime, the Gujarat riot happens. So it's not that they have completely disowned Hindutva. Probably they were not in a position to assert. When they were in a position to assert, they did it. So don't you think many of us, many of not me, but many people joined BJP? Why it should not be called that they were probably driven by some kind of opportunism? And once they didn't get the opportunity, they left and joined other streams and criticized BJP. I'm just asking a question like a normal human being.
you see, of course, there are people who joined BJP, for opportunities, and when they didn't get opportunities, probably they left, or when they discovered other opportunities are better, they've gone. I'm not denying that there may be some people. I am definitely not in that category. One. Secondly, you know, a lot of people like us have misunderstood that this is slowly and slowly becoming less and less communal because of the India's social reality and the compulsions. In order for a political party to at least survive, they have to somehow or the other temper down their extremism. That was the impression. And today, with hindsight, you are wiser, I'm wiser, and most people are wiser. With hindsight, that they were, after all, not really looking at reforming themselves or changing themselves. They were only trying to tactically position themselves. This you can say, I can say with hindsight, the benefit of hindsight,
Okay.
but not at that point. Imagine, Ashutosh, somebody like even George Fernandez. did business with them. Somebody like DMK did business with them. Somebody like AIADMK did business with them. Somebody like TDP has done business with them. Tell me who has not done business with them in this political uh, structure of our country. Everybody did business with them because they were, you can credit them for successfully deceiving everybody. Deceiving individual is all right, but deceiving political movements, political parties with a lot of historical memory, would you say that they are so clever they could do it? In
That
hindsight, with the benefit of hindsight, you would say that now, of course.
so that means the BJP should be given credit for deceiving so many people and so many political parties.
Last 10 years, let us give credit to them for, you know, uh, selling people one dream of the after the other, and not fulfilling even one, and still retaining power. Now, tell me which political party or which government will be actually tolerated or rewarded with a renewed mandate with the kind of failures that the BJP has shown the country.
But that's what the democracy is all about. The electoral democracy is all about. If Mr. Narendra Modi is still powerful, if the people still trust them, if the people is still giving them mandate, then should we fault democracy or should we fault their ideology? Today it
No,
seems that their ideology has got the sanction of the people, the mandate of the people.
no, it will be very wrong to say that, Ashutosh. Um, what is the vote share of BJP? It is not even a substantial minority. Forget majority. It's not even a significant minority. It's just about a one quarter. How can you say that the electorate and the society has endorsed them? Just because the way our electoral system is configured, you can form governments with minority vote. That's what is happening. And a minority vote can
But
give you
every government has formed the minority vote. None of
that.
the Congress government ever got more than 50% vote share for the center. So
It
why
has not even
my question is that we have the constitution makers have chosen a system. Within that system, the Narendra Modi and the BJP gets the mandate in 2014, 2019. Why are we not in a position to accept that the people have given them the mandate, and let's respect democracy if we can, if because they have not usurped power. Yeah.
Ashutoshi. I am respecting the mandate.
Okay.
I accept Mr. Narendra Modi as the Prime Minister. I have been accepting for the last 10 years. I have no dispute. But then, in a democracy, I also have this opportunity, not just opportunity, but the right also,
Right.
if you take that way. That look, I have the right and the opportunity to say that this particular direction is wrong. And the beauty of democracy, political democracy, is this. And this brings us to a very important point, Ashutosh. Thank you for raising this. The point is this, that a political majority is a shifting majority. You know, for 70 years, 75 years, it's not that, the people who are in power today, they've been critical. Does it mean that they were wrong in criticizing because the people have endorsed those governments or those leaderships? No, they had the right and opportunity to question that mandate and say that, look, this is
Yeah.
you gave this mandate, but it is wrong. But we respect the mandate. Like I said, the Supreme Court had said something that the electoral bond is unconstitutional. Why is it not possible for this government to bring itself to say that we respect the decision of the Supreme Court? They are not saying it. Okay. The other point is that a political majority, as I said, is a shifting majority. Today, you vote for, as a common voter, vote for this party, and tomorrow that common voter discards this party, isn't it? But the present regime's attempt is to construct a majority on the basis of religion, which is not a political majority. And once you construct a majority on the basis of religion, it will no longer be a shifting majority. It will be a constant majority. That is the aim of this dispensation, to make this a Hindu majority, Hindu political majority, majoritarian state, Hindu Rashtra, where nobody else can challenge that majority, nobody else will have a place to live, will have a respectable place to live. That is what I'm quarreling with.
Uh,
I'm not quarreling with the political majority. I'm quarreling with the attempt to make communal majority as the political majority.
Prabhakar ji, it was fascinating to talk to you on so many subjects, from democracy to the electoral bond, from economy to unemployment. Yes, I agree with you that the people have given them mandate, and we have a right to criticize them, because we are also part of the democracy and we are also a product of the democracy. As a product of democracy, we have every right to criticize the government the way we want, not in the vulgar words, but in the dignified words. And what
And change that majority.
and change that majority if possible. Thank you so much for talking to the Satya. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Ashutosh.